Hello, and welcome to CFI Breakfast Bytes, a podcast that is brought to you by the World Bank Center of Excellence and Rabo Partnerships and Foundation. My name is Rubiga Sivakumaran. In today's session, we will discuss the topic of involving women and youth in strengthening and expanding CFIs. And I will do this with two experts in the field. Megan O'Donnell, who is Senior Vice President of Financial Inclusion at the World Council of Credit Unions, and Dalia Mehiar, who is Program Officer of Financial Inclusion also at WOCCU. Welcome to both of you.
Thanks for being.
Megan, why is it important that CFIs include women and youth?
Thank you, Ruby. Yes, and this is a really important question that we look at in each of our activities at the World Council of Credit Unions. So, the reason to include women and youth and to focus on really, maximizing their involvement is really to make the most of both the economic opportunity and the business opportunity for the institutions. Youth represent the future and at the moment are often underrepresented in the membership of cooperative financial institutions. And women often face some challenges that men don't in society in terms of growing their businesses, accessing finance that they need for the house and for their businesses. So basically for the actualization of community empowerment and really maximizing how financial services can support growth. We really have to look at both the women and the youth side.
Yeah, and then there's also various ways to include women and youth in CFIs, right? So just to make sure that we are on the same page about which ones are we talking today?
Yes, and we look at it on several levels. There's the institutional side where there are professionals, and we at WOCCU we have two different programs. One called WOCCU, which looks at youth credit union professionals, and another called the Global Women's Leadership Network that is a peer network for women. So that's at the professionals level, but we also look at the members level, at the individual level, and then of course at the institutional level. And all three of those levels come together, to build community economic development as well.
Mm-hmm. And there are still quite some barriers in this regard for both women and youth. Dalia, what are the shared barriers for these two groups when it comes to CFI inclusion?
If we look at just the global fintechs and we look at the account ownership numbers, we can see clearly that there's a gender gap between women and men globally and also in developing countries especially. And similarly with age, we tend to see that younger adults at a global level have less of an access to ownership of accounts. And if we're looking specifically at rural women and youth, which is the topic of our discussion, we see that when we start listing the barriers that they face when it comes to accessing finance, there is a bit of an overlap. So for example, legal barriers to financial access, these are similar for women and youth, especially in rural areas, because you often find that women and youth lack assets and land titles, which are really important when you think of collateral and using that for accessing credit. And so that's one of the biggest challenges that we see for this segment. Other challenges that both the women and young people have are related to financial literacy. Sometimes there's a lack of access to information and to networks. And then just the representation when it comes to the governance in the CFIs, or when it comes to leadership positions. It's not very frequent where we see younger people in power in these positions, and obviously percentages for women are often less than men. And so these are some of these parallels that we see between these two segments.
Mm-hmm. And luckily, where there's challenges, there's also opportunities. Both of you, could you tell me something about a promising initiative or example you have been working on that is solving one or more of these barriers?
Yes, Ruby, I can answer that. We are at WOCCU, we are developing right now what we're calling a gender lens finance toolkit, looking at specifically at access to finance for women through financial cooperatives. And what we've come up with is really a 3-level set of solutions. One, which is very important, number one is improving credit products and processes, really working through the chain of the credit, from the credit officer all the way down to the agents in the field, to the members, and really, whether this is improving collateral terms or just educating some of the credit officers on sort of the different adaptations that they could use to reach women. Just improving those processes is a lever that we're finding is really important. And a second thing that we think is a solution that's really important is helping women to formalize their businesses. So if women keep in the informal sector, they don't have access to a lot of the finance and to a lot of services that they might if they are able to formalize and organize their businesses. And the third lever that we're looking at is peer networks, really connecting professionals, women professionals, to each other, through our global network, but at the national level as well. So we really find working at these 3 levels is a comprehensive solution for a cooperative financial institution. And one example where we've seen some great results already is our program in Senegal, which Dalia can tell you a little bit more about.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. So in Senegal right now, we have a project called the GLI for Credit Unions. And our main partner is PAMACAS, which is a key network of credit unions in Senegal. And through them, we're piloting this methodology with 4 credit unions. And I guess if we're speaking to the successes so far, one of the biggest successes has been piloting new credit terms for an existing product that PAMACAS has that was designed for women. It's called AFSEF. And they, through our methodology, piloted new terms to increase the ceiling of loan amounts that women entrepreneurs can access, as well as reducing some of the collateral requirements that women have through this product. And this is a huge step. And we've seen a lot of buy-in from the institution. They've renewed the duration of this exercise and to see what results come out. And so far, we've heard really positive feedback from the members, and we really hope that this sustains. So it's a really exciting program, and we hope to discuss it a lot more.
That sounds amazing. And is this also one of the things that will be discussed in your panel session that you will be moderating
Yes.
during the International Symposium? Yes. Yeah, because this is on the 9th of November. And what exactly do you hope to achieve with this panel session?
We hope to achieve a lot more discussion and understanding around not only the barriers that women and youth are facing, but some of the solutions and the creative solutions that can come out of this from different parts of the world, from different partners. And the topic of rural also is really interesting because yes, there are challenges that exist for women and youth overall, but there are differences when it comes to regions and specific challenges that might be faced in areas that are more remote, or where there is a specific focus in agriculture, or it's really important to look more closely at segments rather than just a huge group of people. So that's really an exciting topic to explore. And we have a really good panel lined up with a range of different perspectives and rich experiences, and they all have different approaches that their organizations tried, and they've seen some successes, they've seen some challenges, and we really hope to have an engaging discussion where it's more of a question and answer format, to have more dialogue.
Very exciting indeed. I'm already looking forward to it. Luckily, the registration is also still open. So I would advise everyone to click on the registration link in the comments of this podcast. I would like to thank both of you very much for your insights and wish you the best of luck with all the work that you are doing. Next week, we'll be back with a session on agricultural finance, CFIs and agricultural finance. So stay tuned. And for now, thanks for listening.